I will talk to you today about the past, so that I suppose that everything that I'll show you never saw, because some things that are from my past, but obviously they are still very valid and very important, because it is a way of constructing the future, right? So from the cassette tapes to the transholography. How instrumental transcommunication works. I think that everybody has lots of doubts. For instance, you possibly question how the spirits, our loved ones, can appear. Are they solid? Because the general impression that we have is that everything is something like vanish, like a vapor. And how can they be solid enough to appear in the transimages, right? Also, you may think, do they use devices? How can reach us? Even more complicated, do they have a voice to speak to us and record? And how is life there in the other side? I'm sure that everybody has these questions. So I perceived in some previous presentations that I made that mainly my American friends have difficulty in understanding this question of the other side to be solid, that they use tools, that they use devices, and so on. So I selected some images from a movie that was in truth a book written by the respected Brazilian medium Chico Xavier. And he wrote this book some 40 years ago. It is one of his 400 books that was psychographed. So it was not him, it was always the spirits. And in this particular book that became the video, a movie for cinema, he describes in details how the other side is, how the spirits live, obviously in a general way. So we will see some scenes of this video, just for you to have an idea of what the spiritist literature shows that are how the spirits are. This scene is when the guy that just died arrived at the door of the astral seat called our home. Okay, then he has some experiences inside, and that is what the video, the movie is about. And they show scenes of the place, supposedly in the other side, and it is how is described by the spirits through Chico Xavier. So you can see that they have lands, they have buildings, they have houses for each one, and they come to Earth when it is possible, and a little bit of the architecture, and you may notice that they have transport as described by the guide, main guide of Chico Xavier. This is the center of the city, of our home. And it is a very nice movie, but I wanted to show you, for you to perceive that the other side is solid, okay? Here we have a scene in which the spirits from this city called our home come to Earth to rescue persons that are going to die. You observe a very, very modern architecture. And sometimes when they come to Earth, they can fly, let's say, or use transport. And here you see persons just like us, just in another dimension. And this scene is referring to a communication from a higher entity through devices. So you see, they have everything we have here. This is the center of the town, and the spirits are arriving. And at this final scene, the inhabitants are welcoming the persons that are just left Earth and will arrive to this city. So I just wanted to show this because I would like you to perceive that the other side is solid, okay? As per the descriptions of the Spiritist literature. Now, I would like to comment with you about two different types of accessing the other side. One is how the pioneers worked. Those, the first pioneers, they didn't have too much, neither technology nor too much support from the other side. So they had to deal what they had. And they had local transcontacts, and I will explain what it is. And another way of contacting the other side are using the transmission stations. So let's see first, what are the local interferences that I am mentioning? Observe that when the pioneers started, the devices were very, very primitive. So in the years 60, we had the wheel-to-wheel recorders. Then it advanced to the tape recorders, the cassette tapes, and then to the digital recorders, right? So by the time, there was no station yet working. So the communication had to happen by a local interference, something like a mediumistic interference over the device. Okay, so the entity, the deceased one, would act over the device itself, and that is why it was so difficult to get the replies, to record something. When I started 35 years ago, it was the time of the cassette tapes. So that is how I started. You can see behind me some radios, old radios that I also used, and that is what we had. No technology in our side yet. So the instructions we had by that time was that we should use the tape recorder with radios interstations. That is, it was a mess of sounds. In truth, it was a dirty sound because it was neither one station nor the other, right? So it was possible to use, there was a dial that you could move. Today, this doesn't exist anymore. So what happens is that the first results, and I also had the same problem, was a very low quantity. For instance, if you record for 10 minutes, let's say, the maximum you could get one very, very low and bad quality audio, right? So the quantity was minimum. Also, the quality was horrible because it was very noisy. The audios were, we couldn't not identify nearly the words. It was always dirty and noisy voices. And worst, there was a huge imprecision because the tape recorder couldn't allow you to cut precisely in the paranormal voice. So you had to reward and forward, so it was horrible to do. And worst, there was no way of enhancing the audio. So it was registered dirty and it remained dirty because there was no way to make it better. And for me, there was still an extra problem. I couldn't get anything in English And for many years, I couldn't understand why they couldn't say any word in English. It took me many years to understand. And now, if you think that the spirits would communicate acting over the device, you may imagine that here around, I didn't have spirits that could talk in English. So the only one, the persons that could get contacts in English was persons recording in England, for instance, because the spirits around would be English. But here I could just get in Portuguese. And this was horrible for me because around some 15 years ago, I had an invitation to go to United States, and I had no one miserable example of an audio in English. So the first presentation that I made in United States, it was in Portuguese because there was no way to change that. And I didn't understand by the time why it was like this. So what I learned at this beginning was that the soul of the trans contacts is the sound source. So if we use the wrong sound source, we will have results with low quality, noisy, difficult to understand, like a whisper and doubtful interpretation. But if you use the right sound source, that is a clean sound source, you will get clean and loud voices. So that was what my beginning taught me. What existed by that time about transcommunication? In Europe, it was said that there exists a transmission station called the Central Station, and one person that communicated very frequently was Dr. Konstantin Raudver. This was by the years 1990. But even with so primitive technology in our side, by that time, there happened wonderful transcontacts, even phone calls. And this was something that was intriguing me because I couldn't understand if by that time they could get such nice phone calls, why the phone calls doesn't happen today, right? So when I was in a meeting, in a seance of materialization of the medium David Thompson in 2018, by the way, I was with at my left side, I had Sherry, and at my right, I had Victor Zemet to help me with the English. And then I put this question because it is important to remind you about this detail. So at this moment of the conversation, when Dr. Raudver materialized to talk to me, he starts saying, at this moment that I'll put for you to listen, he says, I will help you. And then I make the question, why the phone calls don't happen again? And what I want you to observe is his reply. He says, because the vibration of the fabric of the physical world prevents these from happening. So let's listen in his words.
Can I make another question? Long ago, you apparently made some phone calls to Earth and included to me, and this didn't happen anymore. Why is this? If it was possible for you to make a phone call 10 years ago, why didn't happen again?
Because the vibration of the fabric of the physical world prevents this from happening.
Okay, so someone had to bring a solution because they couldn't cross the fabric of the around Earth. anymore. It was difficult for them. So Tesla creates the solution, and in a way that they don't have to make the traffic between the dimensions. They don't have to go through the fabric of the physical world, and better, they can work simultaneously with us. There is no problem of time, adjustments of time. So that is, in truth, that Tesla invented, let's say, and we are all these years still testing, a direct and a short way to contact us. And the solution that he found was what we would call as virtual reality. Obviously, that for them possibly has another name, but the meaning is the same, virtual reality. And what is virtual reality? Virtual reality is a three-dimensional computer generation environment which can be explored and interacted by a person. That person becomes part of the virtual world or is immersed within this environment, and whilst there is able to manipulate objects or perform a series of actions. So what you see that nowadays is used by the transmission station is precisely this. They will act over our space-time and will produce the communication this way, so they don't cross. They are not around us anymore. They don't come to Earth. They remain in their space. So let's see an example. Let's suppose that this is me, and what they will do. Let's suppose that that is the transmission station. So here you have, they copied me. How do they copy? Through cameras. They have their, we call cameras, but we don't know which is precisely their technology. But for instance, this moment for sure is being followed by the other side. So they can copy our reality and act over that copy, and the results will come to us simultaneously. So they don't have to cross anything anymore. So this is how I imagine that the station is, with scientists working and testing, and they keep observing what they can send and how they can send, and what really arrives here. Now you will perceive these more clearly. Let us think on how transimages are sent. Many times, I think you already saw that I used brilliant or shiny cloths or paper, metallic papers. And what I do is to hold the cloth in front of the camera. Let's suppose it is a webcam, like a laptop. So that is, let's suppose me holding the cloth, moving. They don't like things that are stopped. They like it so that the shine also can help them. And these are some examples of what they do in real time. For instance, that was the cloth that I was holding, and at the right, we have the result. Now, what I wanted to call your attention is that it is, I think, something amazing that they are able to join the dark pixels to make the contour of the face. They join the pixels to make the mouth. They push the white or the brilliant pixels to make the mouth. So what technology is this? Because they do this in real time, right? So in my mind, and obviously someone of the area will have to think about this, but I think that these actions shows that they act in a superluminal velocity. That is, they don't work in the velocity of the light. They have to be more quicker than the light. So this is something that would be an amazing discovery for physics. Here, another example with still the same cloth, and observe that they can build in the video. So let's see that in my space, nothing changes. We go on seeing that cloth all the time, right? But immediately in the video, you can already perceive the things that is happening. So they act not over in our space-time, but in the copy, so that they can produce the results directly in the video. Here you see a cat or something like that, and it is still the same cloth, so that you can see that what is happening there. I'm just holding the metallic cloth, and they simply act over and draw, right? This is an action that I wanted you to see. And this, in this case, here we have human face, let's say, which is maybe a boy or something like that, designed over the cloth. As I said, obviously, this appears only in the video and not physically, right? And something is still more intriguing. This happens in a huge velocity, because sometimes we have just one frame, and we have these in a velocity which is 1 second divided by 30. So it is a very, very quick. So it is incredible how they can send, how they can build, how they can design, and this reach us, right? What I want to call your attention is for the huge technology that the other side has. Now, possibly the secret is that we and them don't see the same thing. What we see nothing, just see, let's say, the cloth and the computer. Even so, for them, possibly this is something like a mass, a solid mass of light that can be shaped. And this, again, comes the question, how do they can do that? It is an incredible technology that we have to pay attention to see that these guys know what they are doing, right? And also, they were able to write once. They wrote the word paz. Paz in Portuguese means peace. So it was a beautiful message that was designed over the cloth. Here, another example, and observe that this huge technology obviously is not from Earth. I mean, it is not a result of a human development of science. It is another science, and possibly the bosses, as I say, are not humans, as they show frequently. They have a different format of head, the eyes are different, and so on. And they usually like to appear. Here, using just a bubble plastic, and they are still able to gather the pixels more darker and the clears, and then they make the design. So, and as I say, always in real time. So it is something absolutely amazing for our present science. Conclusion. ITC phenomena, voices and images, happens as their intervention over a copy of our space-time, that is, using virtual reality. So in truth, after all these years, I came to the conclusion that in truth, nothing is really transmitted in the meaning of coming something to Earth. No, it is another type of technology, and obviously mankind will still discover all this. Now, I was saying some minutes ago that over Europe, there was the Century Station as it was described by the colleagues by that time, around the year 2000. And then Dr. Raudiv was transferred to South to assist me since the years 90, and then appeared what was said to be the South Station. And much later, in the year 2014, for the first time, we heard about the North Station when Craig, that is listening to us today, invited me, and then for the first time, also Beth Ann, who is also listening to us today, husband, Mr. Murray, informed that Tesla was with them, and there existed this North Station. So finally, I could get something in English because the stations started working together. So I was not dependent of the South Station alone anymore. Okay, so finally I could get English replies, and that was thanks to Craig, because he invited me, and everything started from there. So now we have something new for telling you today. So I'll talk about the North Station, South Station, Central Station, and what is incredible and good news, very recently, 1 month ago, we had news about the Asian station entered in activity, and there is a special magazine about it, which you'll receive later, our patrons will receive, and these happening this year. So now we have 4 stations working together. Note that these are not the only stations that exist in the other side. These are the ones that are linked to us, okay? So now, I tell you, the first contact that was sent by the Asian station was absolutely amazing. It was shocking. They brought something absolutely new and really, really incredible. So the Asian friends are ready to go together with the others. Now, we again have the Central Station, North Station, South Station, Asian Station now, and working all together. Now, what happens? Are they free to do what they want? No, they are not, because they are under a bigger command of the commanders of our planet. And who are them? Some ultra-terrestrials. And what are the ultra-terrestrials? They are the guys that lived on Earth for some millenniums ago, and evolved enough for not having to be on Earth anymore. They are pure spirits. They are wise spirits. So they don't have to incarnate anymore, but they still care for Earth, so that they remain around in a specific place for where they live, and they are the rulers, let's say, for all the stations, and they will determine when the stations can improve, when they have to stop, when the development of the communication is under the control of the commanders. So we could say that at this moment of our lives, we are seeing the expansion of the interdimensional net, because I saw the appearance of the North Station and then the Asian Station. So they are expanding. And why maybe this is happening now is perhaps because of the planetary transition. I don't know if you know, but it was mentioned by some medians, Brazilian medians mainly, that after the year 2019, which is last year, big changes would happen to the world. And then we had the COVID to start. And mainly it is said that in this new era, the other side will be closer to Earth. The spirits or the afterlife will be a day by day matter. Everybody will understand about afterlife and about the aliens as well. So let's see if this will happen, right? At least some big changes we are really observing. Now, with the union of the stations, it was possible to make some integrated activities. For instance, there was a wonderful communication uniting this couple at left from San Diego and me here in Sao Paulo. And the couple lost their son, Brandon, at the age of 12 years old by cancer. And it was one of the first trials of this interdimensional communication, obviously under the control or the support of Tesla and his team. And then we made a connection with the couple. And there was wonderful results. They are in one of our magazines. And for instance, I will show you 2 audios of that night that we recorded with the couple. So I asked Brandon if he would return, he would reincarnate. Okay, so let us listen. I asked, will you return it to your mom? And he says, you know, the idea is to help. Will you return to your mom?
No idea to help. No idea to help. No idea to help.
It was an incredible experience with that couple. And will you return to your mom? Wait. No, wait, let me return here. The audio is always complicated. Now this other one, it was very meaningful for the parents because the father taught Brandon that whenever he had a problem, he should deep breath. And that is precisely what he says when his father started working, speaking to him. When the father says, please continue to visit me often. You help me when you come to visit me. But before he had already said, deep breath as a console to the father, right? Let's listen.
Nice.
Please continue to visit me often. When you come to visit.
Nice.
Please continue to visit me often. When you come to visit.
Nice.
Please continue to visit me often. When you come to visit.
So I love when the parents or the mother is as crazy as me, because we may test different things, right? And one thing that we tested that night with the couple, that is Mia, you can see her, her shoulder and her hand, and we planned, and she put a very big bubble plastic hold in the ceiling, and we were talking, and all of a sudden her boy Brandon appeared on the back, and he moved the head, and in a special moment he seems to come from the back to front, projected in this bubble plastic in the direction of the mother that was on foot, just making, passing her hand over the image. So it was a very beautiful moment. And you can see here that he moved the head. And in this other moment, you have Mia, the lady, my friend, here, and you see that the boy changes his expression. And there was a moment that he comes to front and he lowered down his head as offering his front for the mother to kiss him. So it is a very beautiful happening that night. This is another case of a dialogue and of Jasmine. And I asked her to leave a message and she says, I love you. And then I asked her to say something beautiful and she says, miss you. And then I say, what else you'd like to say? And she says, don't cry for the parents, right? So let's listen.
Jasmine, what you'd like to say to your dad? I love you. Say something beautiful to your mother. Me too. What else you'd like to say? Don't cry.
Okay, so talk to children is so sweet. Now, for you to see that the other side is able to what we call transfigurations, right? They change photos or the person that is in front of the camera or the cloth, whatever we put in front of the camera, they are able to modify, okay? So here I was with my friend Nilza, and that is our Craig that is listening to us today. And when happened Craig's mom apparition. Now observe that Nilza, my friend, was in a Zoom meeting with me, and that she's completely different from Craig's mother. So I was recording Nilza's face, and then she became this lady. And that same day, I sent it to Craig and commented with him, look at this transfiguration. My friend Nilza is so different, and she appeared so young and so beautiful with completely different hair. And then some hours later, Craig wrote back and said, but wait, this is my mother. And then he sent the picture. So observe that Nilza was transfigured into Craig's mother. And obviously, I had no idea that it was she could be Craig's mother. So when he sent this photo, and he is this little boy here in the middle, that is Craig when he was a child. And I had the idea of using that picture to test again. So I put it in my computer, the photo that Craig had sent, and started recording the photo to see what our friends could manage, right? So again, observe that between the camera and the screen, there is nothing for our eyes, but for sure, for them, that photo is not something plain, flat, as we see. Possibly that is something 3D that comes in the direction of the camera and that they can reshape it, right? So let's see what happened to the photo. So here we have the photo, Craig in the middle. Look, simply the boy in the middle becomes, I suppose it is a girl, but we don't know. But it is someone older than Craig was in the photo. And his father also changed completely, seems to have white hair, and so maybe older than he was by that time, and other transfigurations that happened that I'll not be showing today. But you observe that it was so curious that a single photo that Craig sent became so different. with new characters. These are the actions of the other side over what we are showing them. This is another case of Natalie, and I used the same resource. I was filming Natalie's face, but in this case, I had one of my crazy ideas, and I decided to print the photo that the mother sent of Natalie, and I cut it just like a face in a normal size. And let's see what happened. See that I'm holding Natalie's picture photo that I printed, and I am behind a plastic because these are my ideas, and I had the impression that these could make it better for the other side. So I was simply holding, as you can see, the printed face of Natalie over in front of my face, and I could move it, right? And just like as you can see here. And Natalie's face all of a sudden becomes a brunette girl, this one. So I sent it to her mother, and it was very uncommon. I couldn't explain what was happening, right? So the mother wrote back saying that she was Natalie's cousin from Ohio, who died many, many years before. So they are together and much younger. Observe that the photo that the mother sent of the cousin is this one. So it's a brunette girl and completely different from Natalie, not using glasses, and so on. Now, we come to the transholographies, and you see that this is plus one step ahead, because what we see in this case is that the light, the poor light of a flashlight is shaped into a face. And what is more incredible was that when I could see the face created over the light of the flashlight, and I could walk around and I still go on seeing the same image. So it was something like a transholography, something like 3D, and over just pure light. Again here, the same technique. What you will see is that I put the flashlight toward the roof, right? And I filmed the light from the top of the flashlight. And this light was shaped into those faces, right? So you can observe that all these are trials of improving, of go ahead in their technology to communicate with us, right? It is a huge effort, and for sure, very incredible brains are used to develop all these, right? And to finish, here we have a surprise for Karen. It is a transcontact from her daughter, Emma. And Emma, I think that everybody already knows, passed at the age of 15 of leukemia. And one message that she left, I think it's so nice, because she says, only she cries is wrong to her mother, meaning that she doesn't want Karen to cry anymore, right? Just this is wrong. And then I asked, she replied before my question, and I asked her to leave a message. And so she says, only she cries is wrong.
Only she cries is wrong.
Emma, can you leave a message to your mom?
Only she cries is wrong.
Emma, can you leave a message to your mom?
Can I introduce the girl?
Emma, can you leave a message to your mom?
You see, now I noticed that these voices are still mixed. And now we have a new development, which is the third version of the Light Bridge device that I tested some 10 days ago. And happily, we could make one step ahead. Now the voices are recorded in separated channels, in separated tracks. So that one is just the human voice and the other one is the paranormal voice. So these, the voices will not be so, let's say, mixed as it was in this case. So we are moving on, right? And bettering. And, okay. And to finish, is still a present from Emma to Karen. It is just to remind a video that Karen recorded some 4 years ago, more or less, when we were in Scottsdale. And she, for courtesy of my friend Todd Moster, he gave me this video to show to you today. So this is Karen speaking about Emma.
I expected to go first, as you do. You don't expect to hold your dying child.
On December 29, 2012, Karen Jarvie lost her only child, Emma, to leukemia. Emma was 15.
I was utterly devastated for 2.5 years. I just did nothing. I tried my hardest to die so many ways.
Then something amazing happened. Through an organization called the Afterlife Research Education Institute, Karen was put in touch with a paranormal investigator whom Karen believes recorded her daughter's voice.
Emma, can you listen to the beautiful message that her mother spoke?
Very, very excited.
Do you have many friends there where you are?
I have many.
What came through was the essence of Emma.
The investigator, Sonia Rinaldi, then gave Karen an image of Emma that she'd obtained that to Karen was clearly Emma, but unlike any photo that had been taken in life.
Her eyes, you know, she has the most beautiful eyes, and she was projected an image where, you know, she was a little older. Well, I guess she probably is a little older now. She's not 15 anymore. For me, what that was gave me that final little bit of evidence, but it also gave me the beginning of what's keeping me alive today. I want other people to be able to communicate with their children.
So this was my presentation for today. And now we have here my website. If someone wants to visit and be with us,